Surah Aadiyat is a Makki surah revealed before the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina. And the surah is named as such because it starts with the word Aadiyat. You guys okay? Alright. So, it starts with the word Aadiyat, therefore the surah is named Aadiyat. Okay, so Makki surah, and it is named as such because the first word of the surah is such. The connection with Surah Qari'ah, which was the surah we did last week, Surah Qari'ah, for the most part, talked about the Day of Judgment. The entire surah was about things that will happen. It painted the scene of what will be happening on the Day of Judgment. Alright? And Surah Aadiyat, the surah we are doing today, is a surah that ends with the theme of Qiyamah. So the connection is Surah Aadiyat talks about something completely different and sort of segues into Qiyamah, and it stops. And then Al-Qari'ah picks up on the theme and it carries on and it explains a little more. Okay? Is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
Okay. So this surah, I had the pleasure of doing this surah with Columbia MSA once. I think it was last semester. And they wanted to do the tafsir of Surah Aadiyat. So I listened to Ustad Nouman Ali Khan's podcast from the surah after I did whatever I could. And the way he explained, mashallah, he's a great teacher. But the way he explained the surah in particular really, really fascinated me. Right? So inshallah, I'll sort of take some of the things he mentioned as well. So number one, what you have to understand is the language of the Quran, first of all, is very descriptive. Okay, as we've seen. Every single word means something very, very particular. Okay? And it paints a really, really precise picture of what you're supposed to think. Right? Whether it be sounds, whether it be scenarios, whether it be feelings or anything. Right? We've been given very, very specific details. So Surah Aadiyat takes one very, very integral part of Arab desert life, which is horses. Okay? Horses were pretty much the center or very, very crucial part of Arab tradition, whether it be in battle, whether it be as transportation, whether it be as luxury. It was considered a very, very traditional part of Arab culture, right? So, horses are the theme in this surah. And by using horses, Allah, for example, is first of all describing something the Quraysh, Prophet ﷺ's people, are very familiar with, uses that to draw them in, and then gives the message. This is how the surah is sort of layered. The first part of the surah is how the Prophet ﷺ, is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws the people in, right? With something that they are very, very familiar with, which is horses. The second part of the surah is the message. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the first ayah. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبَحًا وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا.
We could just turn this board. The other side is all completely clean. We should have done that earlier.
That's fine, go ahead. Now I have to use it since you did this. Right. So وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. The wow usually means what? And. But this wow is exactly the same as the wow of wal asr. What's the difference? The wow in wal asr is for? Swear is for taking an oath, right? So Allah is taking an oath here. Okay? Wa is by the. That's how you translate it. Wallahi billahi tallahi, you know. Those are how you just, take an oath by Allah. So wal adiyati. The word adiyat means galloping horses. Horses that are very, very fast. Adiyat is the plural and the singular is adiyah. Adiyatun. Adiyatun is one galloping horse. Adiyat is galloping horses. And I use the word galloping because there are differences in the speed of a horse. There's prancing. There is trotting. They have different words that, show how the horse is moving, right? Galloping is usually when it is running at its fastest. Okay? And one way we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to those particular type of horses is the word after adiyat, which is dabha. Dabha means panting. That's how you would translate it. It's not a verb. But the word dabha, the way it is set in the verse, is showing the condition of something. Okay? So in this particular case, it's considered a noun. Okay? But this particular noun is showing the condition of the galloping horses. Okay? The word dabha means panting. So usually horses, when they run, they don't pant, they breathe. Because running is very natural for them. But when they are running at their fastest, right, then they start panting, right? You can see the difference in how they are breathing. Their tongue might be sticking out a little or whatever. So galloping horses that are panting. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by these type of horses. Okay? So you would translate the verse as by the galloping horses that are panting. Okay? Now if you sort of just read the translation or try to understand it literally by reading, you don't get the same feeling you would get if you, first of all, understood the language, right? Second of all, you heard it audibly, meaning it was recited to you or it was said to you. Why? Because then the imagination is at play. So Salman Ali Khan said that, think of it as a movie trailer, right? The trailer starts and you see hooves just running. You see horses that are just running at breakneck speed, right? And they are panting. You see glimpses of the horse's nose or their mouth or, their, bodies contracting or however way you want to put it, right? You see flashes of it. So it paints this image in the minds of the Arabs, who obviously didn't have TV that time. So they just had their imagination. And horses were a very, very prized commodity. They weren't used for transportation by everybody. It was only those who can afford it. It was the Ferraris. Literally the Ferraris of that time.
Not the symbols.
Huh?
Not the symbols.
Not the symbols, right? It was a sign of status. The breedings of the horses were a sign of status. You look at any single racehorse in the entire world, the ones that run at the Kentucky Derby and whatever, when these horses retire, if somebody wants to buy them, they go in the millions, easily. They're specifically bred for racing. They're specifically bred for racing. No other horse can match his speed because they're not trained like that. They're not bred like that. So this surah starts, and the image in the mind of an Arab is of a galloping horse. And they know horses, like how people know cars. They know the horsepower of it, literally, right? So, by the panting horses that are galloping, right? By the galloping horses that are panting. The next ayah. فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. And the horses, muriyat, again, is plural. The singular of the word is muriyatun. The single of muriyat is muriyatun. The word muriyat means horses whose hooves cause sparks to fly. Very particular translation. Whose hooves cause sparks to fly. Now, it will only happen when two things are there. Number one, when there are horseshoes on the hoof, right? When there are metal horseshoes on the hoof, that's when you can say that it will cause sparks to fly. But at the same time, those sparks will only fly when the horse is running very fast. So it is hitting the ground. It is hitting the ground, and it is hitting and moving away so fast that it is causing sparks to fly. Okay? قَدْحًا. The word قَدْحًا means striking. So these aren't just any ordinary type of horses. These are war horses. So think of trailers from what they call sand and sandals epics, right? Troy, or Troy had a lot of horses. Gladiator, whatever. Anytime they show horses, they don't show majestic horses. They show ill-tempered, strong war horses, horses that are bred for war, right? Some of the horses are from Lord of the Rings, right? Horses, really strong, and they look very different also. You can tell these aren't horses that, a person will just have. These are specifically bred horses. These are horses of war. So, فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. By the horses. The letter fa, and by the horses. The qasam, the oath is still carrying on. Allah is taking an oath by each and every single one of the verses, but the letter wa is not being repeated. Fa is essentially just connecting the verses together. So, by وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. By the horses whose hooves cause sparks to fly, and they are striking. They're not just running fast, but they are running to attack. So you can just imagine a crowd sitting around the campfire in 7th century Arabia, and somebody says فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا, and they're like, oh, because it just brings up memories or their own poems and epics of battles. Because Arabs loved battles. It was essentially painting a battle scene. You're familiar with this. Not just horses, but horses that are running to do what you love, right? There are horses that are running to war. So, فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا. مُغِيرَات. Again, مُغِيرَات is the plural. The singular is مُغِيرَةٌ. Mim ghain. Mim ghain ya ra. I didn't write it properly. Mim ghain ya ra ta. Mughiratun is the singular. The plural is mughirat. Mughirat are the horses that ambush at dawn. Or the horses that ambush. Very stealthy horses. Or horses that are being used to attack at dawn. This is a scene in Troy where after the first battle, right at the break of dawn, the entire beach was filled with the army of Troy in the morning attack. And Achilles' cousin ended up dying there in that particular skirmish. So the ambush or the attack at dawn is such a cliche that is practically expected in battle. It's no longer a surprise attack, right? So these horses are not just galloping to war, but they are galloping at dawn. They're trying to ambush at dawn. Subha means morning. So Mughirat means horses that ambush. Subha means morning. So فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ subha. By horses that ambush at dawn, at the time of dawn, daybreak. It's hardly light outside, and horses are ambushing them. فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا. Okay, so atharuna means to rise, to cause something to rise. So فَأَثَرْنَا, you will translate it as, thus they cause to rise. نَقْعًا. نَقْعًا means dust. فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا. Okay, so let's focus on the word bihi. The word bihi is two parts, ba and a ha. Okay? The ba means usually with or by. He is a pronoun. So bihi is referring to what? Huh? Horses. And they are galloping, they are attacking. Okay? So they are causing, by their speed, dust to rise. And the people all the way in the camp know that there's an attack coming because they see a dust cloud. An entire army of horses that are running at breakneck speed, okay, is going to cause a lot of dust to rise. And that's how they find out that they're being attacked. So the Arabs even love it more. Like, oh wow, this is just amazing, right? But again, this is a trailer, and it functions. The surah is almost like that. It gets to a certain point and then it cuts off. So the last verse that is part of the first surah, that is part of the first part, فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا.
Yeah. Before you go on, So can you do one more time?
فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ.
Tharana, what does tharana mean?
Atharana means to rise, to cause something to rise.
And naqa?
Naq'a means dust. So فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا. By them galloping, they have caused dust to rise. Okay? It's a proverbial, dust cloud seen from the distance, and they know that they are being attacked. فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا. Wasatwana means to penetrate in the middle of something. The word wasat, which means what? Middle, right? Ummatan wasata. Moderate nation, the middle nation. So fawasatwana is a verb that refers to specifically going in the middle. Bihi, again, is the same function. Ba means by or with. Ha is a pronoun. And they penetrate in the middle through their galloping and through their attacking. Jam'a. Jam'a means together. All together. It's not one by one. But everybody goes in together at the center. To give you another visual, at the end of Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, Rohan got saved by what? Gandalf and the banished horsemen, right? And when they came down the cliff, basically the army was formed into like a sort of triangle, like a spear, with Gandalf right at the front. Right? So the entire army sort of just came into the center and it penetrated right in the middle. Right? That not only shows reckless abandon, but it shows a lot of bravery. Right? To go what probably is the most protected portion of the army. Not the flanks, but the middle. But you don't go for the flanks, you go for the middle. So this is the imagery that is painted, right? So Allah starts off by saying, galloping horses that are panting, right? And they are panting because they are running so fast that their hooves are causing sparks to fly. And these horses are ambushing at dawn. They are ambushing horses. And they are noticed because they are causing a lot of dust to rise. And these horses don't stop, right? They don't attack on the sides, but they all come in the middle and they attack the center together. So these 5 verses, which constitute the first part of the surah out of 11 verses, paints this particular picture. And because it's a trailer, it cuts off. That's the whole point of the trailer. But usually trailers nowadays, they give away the entire story. Like, what's the point? Right? I'd rather watch the trailer than watch the movie. Right? But this entire imagery is the whole point of a trailer. The whole point of a trailer is to get you excited for the movie. So they will edit it so well that they leave you, if it's a hell of a good trailer, they will leave you at the edge of your seat. And after the screen goes dark, you go, man, I gotta watch that. Right? That's the entire point of marketing. Right? So this is the surah. It is painting this entire picture. It draws the Arabs in. They are at the edge of their seat and the screen goes blank. And the next verse is something completely different. So Allah says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. Verily, mankind for his Rabb is forever ungrateful. And they're like, what's happening? This is completely different. Inna. Inna means verily. Al-insana means mankind. Li rabbihi. It's 3 parts. Li is a letter which means what? 4. Rabb means? Rabb means Lord, referring to Allah obviously. He is a pronoun, right? So his Lord, whose Lord are we talking about?
Insan.
Insan, exactly. La, kanud. The la in the beginning of the word is something that translates as definitely. Okay?
Sometimes I know the la is translated as definitely, but sometimes it's also used as for. How do you tell when it's for and then when it's
Usually the translation. So if you were to take the translation as for, right? The translation would be verily mankind for his Lord. Li rabbihi lakanud, for is grateful. For is ungrateful. Does that make sense? No. So lakanud is surely. Okay? So innal insana li rabbihi, verily mankind for his Rabb is definitely kanud, ungrateful. Kanud, ungrateful. So what's the imagery? What's the difference between the two verses? I mean the two parts. So Allah is painting a picture with horses. Horses are extremely loyal, almost like dogs. Not as, you get horses that are very bad-tempered also, right? But extremely loyal creatures. And even if at the very last second, horses will run into danger if its rider is pushing it on, right? So the imagery is these horses are running into battle with no thought for their lives just because their masters are telling them to do so. But you, mankind, are enjoying all these blessings that I have given you, but you're still ungrateful. You see the whatever is being painted here, right? That you're worse than horses. These horses that you covet and you see their loyalty towards you, these horses follow their masters more than you follow your master. Does that make sense? So, innal insana li rabbihi lakanud, verily mankind for his Rabb is definitely ungrateful. So there are two words of emphasis in the ayah. Inna is the first one, la is the second one. Does that make sense? وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ وَإِنَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ لَشَهِيدٌ. And innahu. Okay, sorry. Before we carry on, remember how the first verse is وَالْعَادِيَاتِ. It is an oath. And the next 4 verses are also part of the oath, right? So what is the second part of the oath? So let's just think about Surah Asr. Wal Asr, Allah took an oath by time, right? And the reason for taking an oath by time was, Allah said, Innal insana lafi khusr. I'm taking an oath by time because mankind is definitely at a loss. Okay, that's the second part of the oath. So the oath in this particular surah are the first 5 verses. What Allah is taking an oath for is Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. Verily mankind is forever ungrateful. Understand? So you have an oath and you have why Allah is taking an oath. And Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud is the second part. Wa innahu ala dhalika la shahid. Wa and inna, verily, who, he is ala, on, dhalika, that, la, definitely, shaheed, witness. Did everybody get that? And definitely he's a witness on that. Meaning mankind, wa innahu, verily he, meaning mankind, al-insan, is definitely a witness to his own ungratefulness. He is a witness to his own ungratefulness. They see it. They know that they are ungrateful. And this being ungrateful will be a witness, meaning people will be a witness against themselves on the day of judgment, right? Surah Yasin talks about this, where the tongue will just speak without you having any control over it. It will just spill all the secrets. It will be a witness against you. So إِنَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ لَشَهِيدٌ. He's a witness to his own ungratefulness. Is that clear? Next verse. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. Wa and inna, verily, who he is, li, for hub, love, al-khayr. The word khayr usually means what?
Good.
Good. But in this particular case, the word khayr refers to wealth.
Oh, what do you say was good?
Li means for, hubbi means love. Al-khayr, wealth. La, verily, definitely. Shadid. Shadid means what? Anybody know?
Strong or severe?
Strong, severe, exactly. La shadid. Very strong, very severe. So the translation of the verse would be, and verily he, meaning mankind, verily his love for wealth is very severe, is very strong. This is how you would translate it, putting everything together. And verily, mankind's love for wealth is definitely very strong. It's definitely severe. So this imagery that is being painted is something you covet if it's not by you. Right? وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. And verily, mankind's love for wealth is severe. So this constant need to earn and increase wealth is something that is mentioned in the Quran. That nature we have, and we must have more, is something that Allah is acknowledging in the surah. It's something that is inherent in our nature. But obviously, it depends on how you spend or how you react to that. It is very natural to be angry, but it depends on how you control and express your anger. Right? So this is exactly the same. Last two verses. Any questions so far?
I have a question. In the beginning, are these different types of horses, or is it one horse and giving the descriptions of?
The descriptions are essentially changing, that each one is doing this particular thing. So each one is plural, right? So each quality is essentially the same. Each quality is referring to this one particular group, right? And it's just adding on descriptions. So for example, something visually, if it had to be transcribed, it would definitely, so for example, a 10-second clip, if it had to be transcribed into words, would take at least what, a page maybe, depending on what's in the 10 seconds. So, scenario, and in, just say a movie trailer, all 5 things can be put together very, very smoothly. in 5-7 seconds if it's edited properly. Understand? So all the aspects of what's happening is being painted. And then Allah just pulls the rug from under and says, you're ungrateful, right? Look at these horses, look at yourselves, right? أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. Means what?
Is it like a question?
It's for using, it's to ask questions. So in this case would be do. You know how we say, don't you know, or do you not know? So when we translate the entire ayah, you're going to translate as do. Fa means thus, therefore, la, no. Ya'lam. The word ya'lamu means to know. To know. This is the present tense of the verb. The past tense of the verb ya'lamu is alima. Alima. He learned. This is where the word ilm, which means knowledge, comes from. The word alim, which means scholar, comes from. Is that clear? Ya'lamu is the present and future tense of the verb alima, which means to know. Idha means when. Idha means when. Bu'thira. The word bu'thira means to be scattered, to be dispersed.
I'm sorry, what is Ida again?
Ida means when.
When.
Bu'thira means to be scattered, to be disorganized, to be in disarray, to be in shambles. Right? Bu'thira, to be scattered. Ma, what? Ma means what? Ma is usually used when you are referring to an inanimate object. Right? So if you're asking about an object, you will say ma hadha. Right? What is this? But if you're asking about a person, you will say man hadha. Who is this? Okay? So ma, what? Or whatever. Fi in qubur is a noun. It's a plural. It means graves. The singular of the word qubur is qabr, which means one grave. Qubur means graves. Everybody got that so far? So, the entire verse translated is, do they not know when whatever is in the graves will be scattered? So, don't they know when? Because the word idha, when, is there, it is referring to an event, right? So don't they know about the time when whatever is in the graves will be scattered? Do you guys see where the translation is coming from? What is in the graves?
People.
Not people. Before they become people on the Day of Judgment, they will be
Bones.
bones. Bones are inanimate, which is why ma is used. Right?
Yeah.
People will be bones. Allah will resurrect everything together, and then they will become human beings again. So don't they know about the time, meaning the Day of Judgment? This is where it transitions into Surah Qari'ah. It segues into Surah Qari'ah. Surah Qari'ah talks only about Qiyamah. Surah Aadiyat ends off with a few things about the Day of Judgment. So this is the first thing. أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. Don't they know about the time when whatever is in the graves will be scattered? Right? People won't be together. Everybody will be on their own, frightened. Nobody will care about one another. People will be hiding from each other. Right? So, أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ. Don't they know? Who's the audience Allah is referring to? So, there are two opinions here. Number one is that the audience is the non-believers. أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ. Don't they know? It's a rhetorical question. It's a rhetorical question. Don't they know, meaning the non-believers, that on the Day of Judgment, on the day when whatever is in the graves will be scattered? So that's the first opinion, that it is referring to the non-believers. The second one is that it is not referring to only non-believers, it is referring to every single person who knows about what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment, but they don't act accordingly. So it can be Muslim and non-Muslim. A person who knows what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment or knows about the Day of Judgment but does not act accordingly is being referred to in this verse. Understood? Don't they know? If they know, then why are they still ungrateful? You guys got that? وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. Wa and حُصِّلَ. The word حُصِّلَ means to be revealed or to be attained. In this particular case, it means to be revealed. وَحُصِّلَ. And revealed ma, whatever, fi is in as-sudur, the chest, meaning what?
Hearts.
The hearts.
You said ma is end?
Ma means what?
Ma means what?
Or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Sudur is a plural, and the singular of the word sudur is sadrun. Sod, dal, and ra. Right? Sod, dal, and ra. Sadrun. وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. It's still part of the first verse, of the verse before that. That don't they know about the time when whatever is in the graves will be scattered and whatever is in the hearts, whatever is in the chests will be revealed. Meaning, whatever was kept secret will be revealed. Whatever was kept hidden will be opened. There is no escaping that day. Don't they know about that day? Did you guys get that? Last verse. إِنَّ رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَخَبِيرٌ. Inna, verily, Rabba, whom is a pronoun. Rabba means Lord, referring to Allah. Rabbahum, their Lord. Verily, their Lord. I'm translating literally, so it will not make sense. Inna, verily, their Lord, bihim, with them, or of them. Ba, in this case, translated as of. Whom, him in this word, is the pronoun. Okay? Which means them. Of them. Yawma idhin, that day. Yawma idhin, that day. La khabir. La, definitely. Khabirun, all aware, all knowing. You guys got that? So, inna, verily, Rabbahum, their Lord, bihim, of them, yawma idhin, that day, la, verily, khabirun, all aware. Put the whole translation together. Verily, their Lord on that day will be aware of them. What's the second them? What's the second? Whatever is in the hearts. Exactly. Allah is always aware, and on that day Allah will still be aware even before it is made explicit. There is no way people will be able to hide anything. So, inna rabbahum. Verily Allah on that day is all aware of their secrets. You guys got that? Okay, so just to wrap up, the entire surah is sort of just two parts. First, it paints the entire picture, draws the audience in, and once Allah has the attention, completely switches subjects and then gives an example that, see, like these horses, they're grateful to their masters, they're obedient to their masters, but you are not, and you're ungrateful for them. So if you're ungrateful, does that mean you're unaware of what's going to happen to you on the day of judgment? Meaning, no, you're not aware. Meaning you're not unaware. It's a rhetorical question. So if you are aware, why are you still the way you are? Do you see how the entire surah comes together? And Surah Qari'ah just expounds and it expands on the theme of Qiyamah. Any questions? No?
And this beacon is referring to the shudur there, what's with them?
Right? So obviously when it's referring to the chest, it's referring to the hearts. When it's referring to the hearts, it's referring to the secrets. Right? Subhanallah al-Azim wa bihamdihi subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.